Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Raleigh Board of Selectmen meeting for January the 13th, 2014. Remind everybody that this meeting is being audio and video digitally recorded. And first on the agenda is to call the meeting to order. And first, the Pledge of Allegiance. Stu Dalzell is in the audience. Stu, would you lead us in the pledge?
Be happy to. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Stu, thank you.
My pleasure.
All right. Next on the agenda, let's have a moment of silence. We lost somebody who was very close in the office here. Anita Mickey Atkinson Draper. Drapo. Oh, thank you. So let's have a moment of silence for Mickey. Okay, thank you. Mickey was a very nice lady. She was 85 years old. She passed on. And she was working in the office just up until, 3 years ago, Deb?
Yes.
And she was a great lady, and she was a lot of fun to be around, and sorely missed. And, I don't know if anybody has anything else to say about Mickey, but
No, she was very, very good. Did a great job for us.
sure did.
She really did.
Yep. And sorely miss her. Okay, moving on, chairman's comments. And if you saw the Globe North this week, yesterday, they were talking about a headline at the bottom of the page: 25 call firefighters complete rigorous academy training. And we are proud that 4 of our probationary call firefighters graduated from the call recruit firefighter class number 47 last week. They are as follows: Don Dupree, Jared Graham, Joe Murray, Andrew Nardone. So we want to congratulate them, and there were some of the things that they went through was terrorism awareness, vehicle rescue response, and if you have the Globe yesterday, there's a nice picture right here of Reverend Bob on the front page, and some of the firefighters that were on it, and we're very proud of them that they've gone through this, firefighter 1 and firefighter 2 level training, and again, we congratulate them and thank them for what they do in protecting our community. So, anybody else have anything to say? So, that Mr. Murray, was he any relation?
He is my nephew.
Your nephew.
Yep, that's why I can't say anything.
Okay.
The training is rigorous, I can tell you that.
And again, we congratulate them, and again, thank you for what you do, all the time, your dedication. Okay, just a reminder, it's now 7:05. We are now in Citizen Query. We'll be in Citizen Query until 7:15. At 7:15, we have a joint meeting with the Water Board Commissioners, discuss following items, but we'll talk about that later. And so with that, let's move on to general business number 1, if I can find it. General business number 1, request from the Friends of the COA to use the annex yard for the 4th annual yard sale and bake sale. Paul Duval of the Friends of the COA is requesting the use of the annex yard for the 4th annual yard sale and bake sale Saturday, May 17th from 9 a.m. to 1 p.m. with a rain date of Sunday, May 18th. You see the flyer here, And that will be around the town hall and other places. So with that, do I have any discussion from the board?
I'll make a motion, we grant the request from the Friends of the COA.
I have a-
Use the annex yard.
Thank
The
you.
4th annual sale and bake sale.
Thanks, Jim. I have a motion, do I have a second?
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor?
Aye. Aye.
Okay, moving on to general business number 2, letter of resignation from Karen DeHosel. Dear Joan, this is addressed to Joan Peterson, Town Moderator. This notice to inform you that I'll be resigning from the Finance Committee effective January 15th, 2014. The reason for my resignation is that I would be moving out of town in the near future. I am grateful for the opportunity to have served the Finance Committee, and I have truly enjoyed working with my fellow Finance Committee members and other town rally officials. I wish you all the best. Sincerely, Karen DeHosel. And I'd just like to say, Karen will be sorely missed. Karen was a great asset on the finance board, the finance committee. Larry, you're here tonight as the chairman. Do you have anything to say?
She did a very excellent job, and she was instrumental in coming up with the liaisons that, as far as I know, and that's worked out extremely well in both from the finance committee and a better understanding of everything, and in the other committees in getting support and information from the finance members. So that's worked out very well, and very appreciative of the work that she's done.
Kind words, Larry. She is just a fine lady, and she's going to be sorely missed in the town. Any other comments from the board?
Yes, I got to deal with Karen as the finance committee rep to the school committee, and she was very, very knowledgeable, very able to pick out and work with the issues on the healthcare proposal for the school committee. Made some comments about it and was very helpful to me as far as understanding what was being presented. And I thought her knowledge we'll miss her.
With that, do I have a motion from the board?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a second, and I would just like to add, with regrets, we will accept this resignation.
Absolutely.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I just follow up, Mr. Chairman.
Yes.
My wife obviously is a town moderator, and she's looking for a replacement person. Finance committee's a critical board, and with budget season coming up, and we'd really like to emphasize the fact that they need another person. And Karen's shoes will be hard to fill, but someone who is interested. You don't have to be a financial person. Someone with good common sense and interest in serving and interest in dealing with the town budgets is what she's looking for, and forward letters of application if there's anybody out there looking to the town administrator here, and hopefully we can fill that position before too long.
Thanks, Dave. It is a very important position in the town. So, moving on, we have that general business number 3, email thank you letter from Mona Unster. Chairman Stowe, read the following. Just a quick shout out, thank you to the 2 snowplowed drivers that stopped by to help my husband dig out one of the vehicles that lost control and skidded into the yard on Glen Street. Also, thanks for sending the salt truck so quickly. It really helped. We appreciate your hard work. I just wish the people driving down Glen Street would slow down and thank you. Was that Mona? So with that, I'm sorry.
At the bottom there, Superintendent?
According to Ron Keefe, the 2 snowplow drivers are Matt Tullercash and Eric Elliott, and they work for Chickadee Farms, Hill Farms, one of the town's snowplow contractors. So we'll send a little thank you note off to the two drivers. Okay.
Yes, it goes to what we've been saying for many years, and I have been here for 43 years, and we have always had excellent work from the Town Highway Department, and Ron is keeping up the tradition that we found from Scott Levitt, and it's just been, they do a marvelous job in town.
Good work, and thank you to those two drivers from Chickadee Farms. So, do we have a motion to send a letter of thank you?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Have a second?
Second.
Have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. That takes care of general business. Let's go to old business and an update on 112 Central Street. At last week's meeting, the board reviewed an estimate to demolish 112 Central Street, which did not include asbestos testing and/or removal. We have a quote from Smith & Wessel Associates Incorporated, the company certified by state in asbestos and lead inspections. The proposed costs are outlined on page 5 of the proposal. The estimate inspection cost $1,550. If asbestos and lead is present, then the company will need to prepare and submit a work plan to the DEP. The cost to prepare and submit the work plan is $850. DEP will require air testing at all the perimeter locations of the demolition zone. This will be in addition to the cost as shown under the unit cost page 6. Project daily monitoring $500 in PCM air samples. The work plan will stipulate that the manner in which the building is demolished so that we can need to go back to the contractor for a revised estimate. TW Excavating originally estimated $12,825 for the demolition, depending upon the requirements stipulated in the work plan. The cost may go up. I mentioned last week that the property would need to be fenced in. This is a cost that we have not estimated yet. So,
Mr. Chairman, I noticed last week, part of the cost from TW Excavating was sand and fill for the foundation. If in fact they properly fill the foundation and level that lot, is there a need for fencing?
I would have to defer to the building inspector on that. Usually, you do need a fence if there is some danger of falling into an open foundation. So I'm not sure yet. I need to clarify that.
I know they demolished the house on 133 there. It was much smaller and a smaller lot, but it's just filled in the foundation hole and it's, left open, so it'd be great if we could avoid that cost. Even if we spend a little extra money for sand, I think fencing that lot's gonna be a lot of money.
So Deb, where we stand with this right now?
Well, I'm not sure the board needs to have a discussion on this because it's a little open-ended. We would need to get a transfer to do the asbestos and/or lead testing. That's one thing we would have to do.
Okay.
We don't have that in the selectmen's expense budget.
Excuse me?
We don't have that in the selectmen's expense budget. And then from there, if you do find it, then we would need to have the work plan done. The work plan will stipulate a variety of conditions, including this sort of a air quality, air testing that has to be done at various locations on the perimeter property.
And that's $500 a day during the demolition work.
So that would be in the cost for the samples.
Mhm.
So I'm not sure what's involved in the work plan, but it could change the nature of how the demolition occurs.
Do we know how many days this would take to demolish this building?
Well, I don't know, it depends now on this new work plan, if asbestos and/or lead is discovered on the property.
Okay. So we're talking $1,550 plus the $850 plus the $500 a day. I'm discussing.
Yeah, but you got a lot more here. I mean, you got certified asbestos inspector, $75 an hour. Before you're gonna get done down there, you're gonna be spending X amount, a lot of money. If you read all the way down here, project monitored daily rate, how many days, it's 500 a day. There's so much here. You're even down to mileage, 55 cents a mile you're towing. Reimbursable expense cost plus 10%. I don't know, this project might be more than the property's worth, what you're doing down there, so a lot of money. And they're looking to sell it, aren't they, for 100,000?
I don't know.
I mean, it's putting us right in it's putting us in
I don't know.
in the middle as far as the town to absorb this big expense down there.
I'm just following through on what the board requested me last week. Smith and Wessel is a company, it's in the Worcester area, Spencer, Massachusetts, so they were doing work right now in the housing authority, so they turned around this proposal fairly quickly in about a day after we got the directive from the board last Monday evening, so I don't know if the board needs to think about it further. I just wanted to get the information back to you so you have time to contemplate the next step.
Well, we are gonna recoup our money from this.
Eventually.
Well, there's a lien that's put on it
Eventually,
eventually if
yeah.
the property's ever sold.
Where do we pull the money right now?
Well, that's,
That's, what line, or is the finance committee gonna be involved? We're gonna have to come up with something, pull it out of,
well,
Free
look,
cash
I mean, what we're
or
doing for an
something.
estimate here of expenses on 5 and 6.
yeah.
It's substantially more than the $12,825 initially.
Gonna be triple.
Mr. Chairman,
Yes,
is there
Tom.
definitely asbestos in that property? Did somebody sample and find asbestos?
We don't know.
We don't know.
Well, if they
There's speculation
sample,
that there is.
They do swipe samples and they determine there's no asbestos, then that might lessen the cost there.
Yeah.
So if they do an evaluation, which would be minimal money, that they could find out if there's asbestos in it. What property is it?
That one that was-
112
The fire one?
Central, yes.
Okay. Is it, what kind of heating system? Did it have?
I don't think it had one at the end.
They use propane, and there's actually quite a number of propane cylinders that are on the property right now.
Well, if it was like a steam pipe system, they'd have steam.
They'd have asbestos all coating the
insulation.
pipes.
It probably was. It's an old, it's built back in that era.
That'd be an obvious thing, so,
That would probably be the asbestos that's on the property.
Lead paint, you're
All the
probably
steam.
guaranteed you'd find lead paint there.
Oh, and that's another environmental
Yeah.
concern. This is it's not a public project in terms of doing work on a municipal building, so you'd have to, I believe you'd have to follow all of the removal issues and regulations that come with that. So this does cover that, because that's also very
And
minor.
Jack, I think you're right, this makes a substantial amount of money that we're talking here.
Yeah.
Now, Mr. Chairman, to be the devil's advocate here,
Okay,
we did say that we would get the money back. That as long as they don't default and it becomes tax title,
mhm,
then we don't get the money back.
right,
Exactly.
yeah.
That's a big thing.
Well, what's the board think?
Well, I
it's-
think we're between a rock and a hard place here,
Yeah.
because I think we need to do at least an inspection to find out if there's lead and or asbestos. Because if there is, and we do nothing, does that present a hazard
There you
with
go.
neighbors and stuff like, I mean, nobody wants to spend this money.
No.
And it's sad that the estate is tied up in such a way that, apparently the house isn't gonna be sold in the foreseeable future, but I think the liability concerns at this point is at least do the testing, and I think we go to the finance committee. I mean, I think we briefly talked about taking that as selectmen's expenses and send a note to the finance committee that, this is somewhat of an emergency situation. at least to find out what the situation is over there. And
Well, let's do,
it's definitely a hazard.
And the
And
money would-
how much liability do we want to have by doing nothing versus
Mm-hmm.
taking care of it and hopefully recouping the money? So it's, I would like to see us at least have the company come in and
The testing.
test. So we
Yep.
see what's there and maybe check with TW Excavating
Mhm.
to see if in fact their proposal includes filling in the foundation, because I'm sure a fence is gonna be a lot of money. I mean, you can rent one, you don't necessarily don't have to buy one, but they use the construction companies use rental fences all the time, but that, you add all these different things up, and we're talking about a substantial amount of money. If we have to do it for liability purposes and so on and so forth, then we probably have to do it, but, we're caught between a rock and a hard place, and I just think we at least need to find out what the hazards are there, and see if we can talk to the contractor about not, leaving the site in such a way that we won't be required to put a fence up.
So let's first talk about the inspection and look into what else?
And can we send a note to the finance committee and
Yeah.
and advise them that, the situation and the
Well,
cost?
well, the
So
thing
that
is,
we can find out from them if they're gonna balk it. I mean, we're gonna use I assume, our expense money, which is very limited to begin with, at
Besi-
least to get this project off the ground. If we know we'll get reimbursed from the finance committee reserve fund, that's one thing. If they're gonna balk at doing this, then we're really, that's one more roadblock to
do
this.
we
to get this
require
whole
any
thing
more
done.
funds than the $1,550 for the inspection?
Mr. Chairman, if I may suggest,
Sure.
I think we should do the inspection and
Okay.
find out exactly what we're dealing with.
Mhm.
If in fact we have a problem there with the asbestos and lead, then we will have to decide what we're gonna do next. And the next cost is gonna be at least $850 to do the plan.
Mhm.
And if we get to that point, then we'll need to probably go back out to bid again,
Well, I'm
or
gonna have
at
to do
least revise the
some,
bid.
before we even start this, I still have to do some more legal work on this, so you can't just go in there. So we have to, I'll have to have Judy Pickett involved in this, and once you start getting onto, there's no liability to the town, there's a liability to the owner of the property.
Mhm.
That's who the liability rests with, but if we're gonna pursue this then and follow that course of action, then we're gonna have to start sending letters to the homeowner on this, the property owner of record, with the notice that these are the things that we're seeking to do in order to start this process. So I'm gonna need some time on this. This is not something I can just call up and send somebody out
Right.
and use public money
And
on
plus, we
private
need
property.
permission to go onto the property to do
Oh, there's
the
all
inspection
kinds of,
first. There's all kinds of legal.
Things that we have to do here, so,
I think we need to do this first step, spend a couple of $1,000s.
which I have to check our budget. I wasn't aware that,
Exactly,
I
yeah.
thought we were going to the finance committee for a reserve funds transfer to our line, because they can only transfer to another budget line.
Right.
I
Well,
wasn't aware that it
I
was
think that's what
coming
we
out.
need to,
Well, we
we
can
need to
do
check
that,
with
that's fine.
finance and see if they're
Yeah.
willing to do that.
Okay. So,
And I think basically if we get reimbursed, which is the game plan here, if things go right and once the property is squared away, we get the money back on the lien, then that can go back to the reserve fund. We can replace it in the reserve fund. It'll take a town meeting vote to put it in there, but I think that's where it should go back.
Well, we're probably not gonna get it that quick.
I-
Well, I think at this point, can we, the finance committee's meeting tomorrow night, would it be possible to add an item to their agenda? I know it's last minute, to see if they're willing to transfer, say, $2,000 to get the testing done. Or we just sit here and say, hey, let it sit there the way it is and take a chance.
is this a
Only get
da-
turnout there.
well, I guess we have to really address, is this a danger to the town or the health of
Well, it certainly is a danger to the neighborhood.
the neighborhood?
I mean, the buildings are very close there, and there's substantial damage to the building. Reading this proposal very quickly, I didn't really read it word for word, but I'd be surprised if those inspectors will even go into inside the property.
Well, they've been in, they actually reached out to the building inspector on this, so they agreed on how this testing could be done.
Okay,
Realizing it's a precarious situation there. So they know what the property looks like.
okay.
And they would go on the site with Tyvek suits and
Well, yeah,
masks.
I'm sure they're gonna be all the requirements, they are registered with the state to do that type of work. But I think we need to take this in steps. If we get to that point and we think we can go forward, then we figure out what that's gonna be. But at this point, at least we get this far, we gotta start.
Let's,
And
I mean,
just
worst
the
comes
question
to-
is the money.
And I just wanna do some checking now on our
Right.
own, because this is not municipal property, and there's
Right.
exposure for the town on this that I need to check and
Yeah.
clear with
No,
our
definitely.
insurance
yeah,
carrier.
before,
That's
let's
another,
go to Judy
issue
Pickett
here, so I wanna
and,
make sure, I mean, I'm just giving you the prices, we
Yep.
need to think about the bigger picture issue is all, I'm just,
I
Yeah,
think
that's-
probably what we should do at this point then is have Debbie do the research that we need to do to take care of the liability issues.
right, and see if there's anything kickback,
And then, once we get that squared away, if in fact we can,
I
then
should
we
say
come
not
back,
kickback, but blowback towards the town.
we can then start with this project and see how far we can go with that.
Okay.
Right.
I'd
Yes,
just like to, tell you what I know about these things. The lead paint, you're gonna find lead in that property. There's no question you're gonna find lead.
Mhm.
Asbestos is gonna be the big thing to be concerned. It would be a health hazard if they were doing it in dry weather. That's
Mhm.
why when they do it, if they identified lead or anything like that there, they would, use a fire hose and wash it, keep it down, keep the emissions down. Because the hazard is like a dust hazard.
Mhm.
And that's migrating to the neighborhood. It's probably migrated, if stuff is there, it's probably in the neighborhood anyway. So there's gonna be, that's gonna be the big concern. That you won't know until you do the testing. And
Okay, let's do the preliminary first with Judy Pickett, and then
Yeah.
we'll go from there. Okay, we'll come back and address this again.
Sounds good.
Okay?
so will there be a discussion, I realize the FinCom doesn't have any, usually run an item on their agenda every week on reserve fund transfers in case anything comes up, so will we be, would you
No,
like me to
I
ask
think
Mr.
what we need
White
to do is to go
just
to
discuss it in
our
generality?
go to the legal process first, then find out if we can go after that.
Well, it might be
Maybe we
worthwhile
could-
to check with the finance, in other words, if the finance committee, if we have just a short discussion with them, well, I mean, obviously, we don't have many details ourselves, but give them some indication. If they're opposed to it, then we're gonna have to wait for a town meeting in the spring anyway. In fact, this whole thing may drag out till then at this point anyway. If we have a number of legal issues that the town administrator has to go through and bidding and all this other stuff, we may end up being close enough where we'll just hold the whole project off, and if we're gonna do it, get an
Mr. Chairman,
appropriation at town
could we
meeting.
ask the finance committee chairman, who happens to be in the audience
Yes.
tonight, if he could basically advise the finance committee board, if he's got a meeting tomorrow night, what we're looking at and what we're trying to get accomplished?
Yes, that's what I was proposing, is that I would at least make the finance committee aware of what's going on. And Dave, are you gonna be there tomorrow?
Yeah.
Have Dave give the selectmen's synopsis of what is going on and what their options might be, to at least make them aware of what's going on, so that way it's not gonna be any surprise, and that they'll know, that some of the options have been discussed and things like that. So I planned on bringing it up at this point,
Okay.
so.
So those will be the two issues that we,
We'll probably run it through the vice chair.
Yeah, you're gonna have to recuse yourself, Larry, because you're a neighbor.
yeah,
You can't get involved in the discussion,
you're in a butter, so.
so. But I'm planning on being there if you can just put a last minute addition to the agenda. I mean, I have no problem discussing it,
Right.
and bringing it. Like I say, we're not looking for anything tomorrow night. It'll be just a matter of kind of getting a consensus of, are we running into a lot of opposition, or are people basically in accordance? And like I said, we're into January, we're heading for February, we may be, finance-wise, we may well be into a special town meeting if in fact we want to move forward, which would obviously financially make a huge difference for all the transfers and all those. And, and if Debbie gets everything squared away, then I agree with what Bob says, is let's get an estimate of get the testing done so we see what's there, and, take it one step at a time. So if we deal with the finance committee just to review and let the town administrator do what legal work she has to to find out what the process is and then get back to us, and we'll move forward once we know what the legal process is too. So it's just one step at a time at this point, I think.
All right, and then we'll come back
That
and
sounds
address it.
acceptable, Debbie, too?
Yeah, that would make sense.
All right, then we'll come back and address it
Okay.
on Monday night in the future. Okay. All right. All right, it is a little bit over the time here. I'll go back to. I can find my. One second. It's in here someplace, I know, I'm sorry. Maybe not. Oh, here it is, over here. It's in the other pile. Okay. Again, I apologize for running a little bit late tonight. We joined meeting with the Water Board Commissioners, discussed the following items. Reserve fund transfer, a letter from Weston Sampson to the DEP requesting time extension, administrative consent to order, water treatment plant construction deadline extension, and change of order. So first, can I have a motion to go into a joint session with the Water Board?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
I have a second. All those in favor with
Roll call vote.
roll call vote? Thank you, Bob.
Aye, Jack Cook.
Aye, Joe Barry.
I, Robert Snow.
Hi, Robert Mary.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
Hi, Tim Toomey.
Aye, Stu Delzo.
Okay, we are now in joint meeting. So, with that, we left you gentlemen last week. During last week's meeting, the Selectmen asked the Water Board when the water treatment plant construction would be completed. Commissioners Delzell and Toomey said April, and the interim water superintendent, Mark Griffin, who is present with us, said May. On Wednesday of last week, we received a letter from Barbara Cook of Weston Sampson informing the DEP that the construction would be completed in August. Ms. Cook, in this letter, is requesting an extension of the deadline in the consent order. And we let, who knew about this and who gave her the authority? That's one of the questions tonight. And I'll read the letter from Barbara Cook into the record. Where is it? It's January 8th. And again, this is from Barbara Cook from Weston Sampson. Dear Mr. Mahinan, on behalf of the town of Raleigh, we request a little time extension for item 7C in the administrative consent order. ACO NE-10-5D004 relating to the filtration of well 3 in well field 5 in the town of Raleigh. The amended ACO requires that the construction of the water treatment plant be completed by January 15, 2014. We are item 7C. We are requesting an extension to complete the construction of the water treatment plant to August the 15th, 2014 for the following reasons noted below. Construction contract start date is July 2nd, 2012. The contract duration, as stated in the specifications, in 600 consecutive calendar days, making the contract completion date February the 21st, 2014, which is past the ACO deadline. 2. The contractor's concrete subcontractor went bankrupt during the construction, and there were delays in the project schedule as the concrete work was not completed according to schedule. 3. As in typical with any construction project, there have been necessary change orders that have been approved with corresponding justified time extensions to the contract completion date. The contract's current schedule shows a construction completion date of May 9, 2014, which incorporates change order time extensions through change order number 5. There are currently two pending changes or change orders where the contractor has requested a time extension of 78 days beyond May 9th, making a revised completion date of July 26, 2014. The change order work that was required time extensions, which included electrical and instrumentation wiring, structural, architectural, plumbing, in addition of radio communications repeater site due to FCC changes between time of design and construction. 4. We have added an additional 3 weeks of time to the date of July 26, 2014 to allow buffer other items that may occur between now and the completion date. Please contact me or the town of Raleigh if you have any questions. Very truly yours, Weston Sampson, Barbara K. Cook, PE Vice President. So with that, as you can see, we have some questions here tonight, so I'll turn it over to you, Mr. Chairman. And just as we went through about the date of the from what Barbara stated.
Well, this is, you know, this letter was new to me. I didn't know that the letter was going to be prepared at this time. I knew that there was a letter going to be prepared a long time ago. Due to, you know, other factors even over and above these factors here. So I don't know. I don't know really what. I don't know why Weston and Sampson didn't request to come to one of our meetings to discuss this change with our board. And I'm not sure why she did that. So, you know anything, Stu?
I did not know a thing about this extension request until last Wednesday.
Okay.
Late in the day.
Now, can we ask Mark a question?
Certainly.
Mark?
I'm very embarrassed about this because we sat here last week and we told you gentlemen, April or May. And unbeknown to us, the request came on Wednesday.
Mark, were you present at the meeting? This was your first day on the job, correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Can you give us some background?
Sure. As you were reading, you said the original date was tomorrow, and obviously we needed an extension from DEP. But I want to discern the difference between when will the expected completion be done and when is the time at which DEP would penalize us for not having it done. And Barbara used the word buffer. During that meeting, now I didn't know that I had to tell the board this. It was my first day. I did know that she was going to write that letter. In fact, during that meeting, she said, should I continue to represent the town to DEP? And my feeling was that until which I assumed that was the status quo. I didn't know that was an irregularity at the time. And and I told her, until I really understand what's going on here, don't change anything. So I dropped the ball that day. Chairman Toomey came in at the tail end of that meeting. I didn't think there was anything unusual. That's why I didn't mention it to him. The day this was sent out, a few days ago, I had a second chance to say, hey, can you bring that to the board? And can we review the letter before it goes out? But again, thinking it was what was established and proper. Well, Barbara called me up. Barbara Cook called me up and said, hey, I'm going to send this letter out now. Can I have your email so I can copy you? And I was rushing around the office, a little busy. And that's when she did tell me she's going to ask for August 15th instead of July. And I do recall July from the meeting. And I do recall end of May being the time that the plant would probably be online. And so I didn't say to her, could we look at the draft before you send it or anything like that. So I dropped the ball again. Just with the improper presumption that it was established that she would represent. Now, I've got previous experience with DEP doing this, and this is normal. I mean, I'm sorry, it's not that irregular. If that were a treatment plant in operation, it would come under the legal heading of the primary operator, and we would be required to contact DEP ourselves. If there are, for example, deficiencies from an ACO, the town has the right to actually hire a contractor to fix those deficiencies and report them as part of their job to DEP. It's not a working, operable thing. When it becomes under operations, it has to be from the primary operator. Thinking this was normal, and also having seen this in the past as standard procedure, if you choose it to be, I didn't think anything of it. I can understand on the other side that the person or people who sign the ACO would prefer to make that contact. So I could see it happening both ways. I was just ignorant of how it was supposed to go, and no flag went up for me to tell anybody about it. And I checked with the primary operator was at that meeting as well, and he remembers the same as I do. You have a letter from John Hargraves. He compared with the notes, his memory, his recall, and his notes with the minutes from Weston Sampson from Barbara Cook. And he did not remember the July date. That's fine. He didn't remember it. I remembered it, and so did Glenn. But I also remember talking with John, and he says, they're making pretty good progress down there. That might actually happen by the end of May. And so this is what we think the construction will be done. What you don't want to do is wait till the last minute to get an extension from DEP. You don't want to over-pad it. You don't want to give too large a buffer, because they will know that and say, no, you can't have it. And you certainly don't want to ask for 2 extensions. So the other thing is the other aspect, which reason it didn't throw up a flag for me is Barbara Cook deals with DEP a lot. They know her, she knows them. She knows a particular jargon, and there's a degree of confidence from DEP that everything is going the way she says it to be. So again, no flag went up for me, because I figured this was standard.
Well, again, Mark, it was your first day on the job, and
I should have said something, and I didn't,
Yeah, well,
I didn't
it's-
think to do it.
background, you don't know all the background coming into this. I'm concerned that the commissioners didn't know, and that there was no discussion between, an alert from, because you talked to Barbara, correct?
Rarely.
Really? So your interim would be John Hargrave and John Sikora?
Yeah, we have John Hargraves interface with John Sikora on our behalf, and then John, if anything is odd, like any kind of change orders comes forward, John reviews that. Bills, he reviews them and advises the board. He sometimes comes to meetings. He does a lot of times. Most times he doesn't come to meetings. We're trying to keep costs down, and so there is communication between me and the former superintendent, and now the interim superintendent, between John and myself. I try to let the staff take care of most of the operations down there. So,
Mr. Chairman, may I ask a question, please?
Yes.
Having worked on 3
Sure.
bridges in the town of Raleigh myself, when I worked on those construction projects, anytime there would be a proposed amendment in a time schedule, the engineers would be providing a revised construction schedule. It would be, in my understanding, that there would be some communication memo, revised time schedule of when work would be done, that should have been submitted by Weston and Sampson to the water department at some point, and I'm not sure if that was ever done by the clerk of the works, who, though he is an employee of Weston and Sampson, is the owner's representative on site and should be preparing those kinds of memos. So I'm not sure if that ever happened, But if the construction meeting happened on Monday, December 23rd, and the water board had a meeting on Monday, December 30th, 1 week later, was this on their agenda? Did the clerk of the works submit a proposed revised construction schedule? And why was this not on their agenda with the request to extend the administrative consent order, which is a consent order that was signed by the town, not by the water department? Were these not on their agenda? I direct that question through to the board through you, Mr. Chairman.
You heard Ms. Egan. And, your thoughts, Tim?
Well, I think we've had a lot of change in the department, especially over the last couple of months. Mr. Hargraves has been focusing mainly on, spending essential time down there. Should he have talked to me about it? He may have, I can't recall. But I believe him that he didn't know that a letter was going to be prepared, and I don't know why he wouldn't be told that the letter was going to be prepared with a deadline like that. I think we all kind of know that there was a deadline we were up against, but we didn't know the letter was going to come out that soon, so I don't know why we weren't notified.
Okay, John Sikora was aware of this? Yes, Mark.
May I add? At that meeting on the 23rd, they did give an update on the schedule. I think that's the purpose of the meeting, and they presented us with the financials for SRF monies spent in one package, and another package for our Weston and Sampson's charges. And at the meeting the following Monday, I think, or the 30th, we did go over the financials, and we discussed at length the change orders, which was we were trying to reconcile the validity of the change orders, and that was our energy at that night. I don't think it was directly said, by the way, here's the schedule, but I think that was implicit.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't talk about, I think we were referring to the money part of the change orders more than the timing. Thinking that the timing was probably, I'm guessing now, probably not that, not the larger issue. At that meeting, we did not talk about the extension. Again, I thought it was common knowledge, and the fact that the 15th is tomorrow was the original day. So, no, we didn't talk about the extension, but we did talk about the financials, the schedule, and we were more concerned about the money. And implicit to the change orders was some extra time, but we didn't discuss it directly.
Just to clarify one point,
Sure.
if I may. When you talked about this meeting on the 23rd, where the presentation was made to you, there were no board members there until the very end.
Correct.
So there was no presentation to the Water Commission.
Yes. Would you like to know who was there?
No, if the
Oh,
water,
sure.
the board wasn't there,
Sure.
right?
This is
Go ahead, Mark.
John
I'm
Sikora
sorry.
for Weston and Sampson, John Hargraves for the town of Raleigh, myself, Barbara Cook, and the primary operator, Glenn Smith.
Well, Gene Corner was there.
I'm sorry, the contractor came in late, the actual contractor came in,
Okay.
Gene Corner, right?
Mr. Chairman.
Stu, one second. Stu, do you have anything to add to this?
No, I think I said it all when I said we're very embarrassed because here we are telling you gentlemen, April or May, 2 days later, it's into July.
My sentiments also. Stu. Dave?
Mr. Chairman, I just would like to comment that the water board has really been in complete turmoil for a year, at least, maybe longer. And I think under the circumstances with basically the entire department from the work level, from the primary operator to the superintendent has changed. A new gentleman just came on board. I mean, obviously, I think if everything had been going along in an ideal manner, I think I could be more upset at the way it was handled in the end. But I think with so many different changes and things going on, to be perfectly honest with you, if the plant comes online with everything that's happened by the middle of July or thereabouts, I think we're doing pretty well. That doesn't excuse what's happened in the last minute, and I feel bad for the water board because they're the ones that are embarrassed here more than we are. But I think at this point we're best served by figuring out, and with the new temporary water superintendent, who seems to be very knowledgeable and really on top of things here at this point, that we look at moving forward to get this thing done. Well, my concern right now would be, we got no choice. We got to finish this plan, and if we get the extension from DEP, I think my interest tonight would be what additional costs are we talking about regarding these change orders? Because the other thing that the water board mentioned last week was I think a 1% out of the 5% cost. So I mean, what is this additional time going to cost us? Obviously, some time for Mr. Hargraves. But are these change orders that are going to require an extension of the 78 days? What at least so we have the information on the cost. I'm not sure there's much we can do about them, but at least get this information to the water board and to us so that we can kind of take a look at what's going on. But I do want to commend the current members of the water board is doing the best they can under difficult circumstances, and as well as the new employees over there. And I think we need to work together to get this thing completed online and working for the water ratepayers and the good water in town. So
I would, if I could.
Comment, sure.
I do commend you guys for, you've been under a difficult situation for some time. But that they wouldn't even consider bringing this proposal to the board. That's what is upsetting to me. Not that you guys have, if you had known about this, then you could have come to us, but they didn't even consider making this proposal to you, bringing anything to you.
I'm very disappointed in the engineering firm. I feel like they went behind our backs and sent a letter to DEP and never notified the water board.
Right.
Jack,
I would agree.
Oh, I'm sorry, Bob.
I agree both with Dave and Joe. It's been a rough road for the last year or so. You guys have really done a good job holding it together as much as you could. But I think because of that, it's imperative that there's a communication back to the Board of Selectmen. Only because it's our name on the bottom of that consent order. And we need to be able to keep an eye on what's going on there and try to steer it in the right direction. And I think that's what's the issue with us at this point, is we would like to know what's going on there. I realize that normally that probably wouldn't be the case in most systems, but because of the issues that have gone on, we think, or at least I think as a selectman, we need to have some of that control and be able to steer the ship a little bit to try to head it in the right direction. And I agree with Joe, and Dave both. The primary issue here is safe drinking water, and we need that desperately. So if we can all work together, we can get that and meet that goal. So
In the most efficient way.
Yep.
Exactly.
Jack, you have anything to add?
No, I'm kind of agreeable with everything's been said here. The big thing is, Selectman Mary said that the ball falls in our lap as well. But the thing it is, the water commissioners should have been notified by Weston Sampson prior to last week. I mean, I think it's kind of important. They have regular meetings, and they had one coming in. The only thing I was I was really disturbed, if you look down on the change order here, number 2,
What page?
on page 3, would it be? No, 2, page 2. It says on number 2, the contractor's concrete contractor went bankrupt during construction, and there were delays in the project schedule. As the concrete work was not completed according to schedule. Was any of you 2 members on the aware of them
Oh, after,
after?
yeah, but, Jack, we're showing up at the, we're involved with everything there, but we don't want to get involved with the operations. So we're informed about it. Whether we act on it or not would require us to, really get in depth with that. We didn't think it was going to be a real problem with the schedule, but it was.
Well, it was, exactly. The other thing is,
But I don't know.
you have people overseeing this.
Yeah.
So if A went bankrupt, you can get B or C. There's all kinds of concrete companies, I would say. And what I'm reading, I mean, what it's saying, it held the job up. I mean, was the concrete that important? Yes,
Well,
to be getting it done. I mean, how long a delay was it? I mean, Weston Sampson is the engineer coming here, and then you have a project clerk of works, and you call another outfit. They went bankrupt.
Well, I know,
you
but
know.
we have to let the contractor, which is Kinsman, handle their own problems under that contract. We can complain about it, we can ask him to take care of that, but he did move as fast as he could, but the paperwork that he prepared or was required by his subcontractors was filled in erroneously too, so it was not a good situation with that contractor, okay? And then how many days did we lose? I don't know, but if we can go back in the records, because every time they do a change order, the contractor requests also a time extension. So if something needs to be redesigned or delays the contractor, there's a team there that puts that process forward, and they go and they come up with a cost, and they have to prepare it so that we can understand what's going on, and we vote on it, to see if it's appropriate. And then there's also, with that cost consequence, there's also a time consequence. So those things do add up. And, the last time we approved the change order, we didn't approve the time extension. So we kind of, went through that process to say, okay, we'll allow the change for the cost, but we don't want it to. We don't see how it's going to impact the schedule. But all these things are like contractual things that happen during these big projects, and all we can do is we can just keep on top of the ball there. And, as far as the concrete guys, I'm not sure how many days it delayed it, but it did delay something there, as did many other change orders.
To me, when I look at this whole thing, it's a complete breakdown of communications, a complete failure of people talking to one another and getting straight scoop, especially getting into the commissioners. I think this is very important. If I was a citizen and I was home on my couch tonight watching this, especially if I had watched last week's meeting, and and hear a different story, I think I would have been off the couch. And well, you know how I am. This past year and a half that we've gone through everything we've gone through with the water department. It's just a complete breakdown of communications, and I don't expect to see this again, especially this board. I think I'm speaking for the board. If I'm not speaking for the board, someone speak up. But we're the ones who signed the bottom line. The board.
Well, I think, Mr. Chairman, just to follow up what you said, I think for the first time in many months, if not a year or more, we have a water superintendent who seems to really be on top of the project. I mean, obviously, it's taken a little time to get acclimated to to us and to the construction process, et cetera. But I feel confident at this point, for the first time in a long time, that we have a very capable, an expert, literally,
Oh,
as our current superintendent, and I think at this point that that'll be immensely important in improving the communications process and the interaction between the contractor and the designer, Weston Sampson, and
Well,
the water board.
Dave, I agree. You know, it was Mark's first day on the job, and there was a lot of assumptions on your part of what was transpiring. Okay, but the breakdown of communications from I feel that the contractor of Barbara Cook, and there's nothing in writing coming directly from her to the board. And to Mr. Shakura and
Well-
Mr. Hardgrave. And, I think the lines of communication completely broke down here. And it's really kind of embarrassing after last week, after us all sitting here and, kind of patting each other on the back saying, gee, great, going great and super. And then, again, people sitting home on the couch, if they're anything like me, they came off the couch, and believe me, I'm controlling myself tonight. So
I think we recognized that this was a problem. I mean, and then I think 2 meetings ago, we decided that we were gonna have at least one board member attend these construction meetings. They happen during the day, in the morning. And so, last meeting, I was able to attend. I wasn't scheduled to attend, but at the last minute I had to because the other board member had a conflict or whatever. So, we're trying to get more involved with that particular construction meeting. That would help out things there. Also, it might make sense, we're having a meeting tomorrow night, and what we could probably expect is our board would vote to at least send a letter to Weston and Sampson suggesting that we should review the protocol for communication and in an effort to alleviate any kind of problem like this in the future. So I think that those 2 things will go a long way to help this not happen again. And I just think that we need to get more involved over there with that. So we're all kind of busy, but we'll make the time.
I mean, we're not expecting you to micromanage the job, but we are expecting them to communicate with you that if there is something happening, let you know.
Yeah, it'll be clear.
So that if we have a question, we can go to you, and you won't be saying April and they're talking July.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing for you. It's embarrassing for us.
Very
They're not communicating with us.
And in hindsight, I would have expected that Weston and Sampson would, come to one of our meetings.
Yeah.
And with a draft letter and saying, this would be the protocol.
Right.
For notification of DEP. I think that may have been done back, maybe a year ago, because we brought that question up when we first started the project, because we knew we were behind schedule at the onset. And we discussed that quite a bit during the meeting, I believe, to my recollection, that it would make sense to really get a handle on the schedule before she prepared that letter, or Weston and Sampson did. Now, it was brought up to my attention that, that they could, can manage the project, but the ultimate signee for that ACOP was the town. And therefore, that particular letter should be going out through the town in the future.
Mhm.
It's just, it's unfortunate that it slipped by us, and, I think that what Dave said is that we've been through a lot of change in that department, and something like that could slip through the cracks. So at tomorrow's meeting, I think we'll bring that forward and try to take care of that issue.
Mark?
Mr. Mary made a comment about holding primary. The the safety of the drinking water.
Exactly.
And that is true. And how we're managing that, just to make a clarification, is my initial impetus here is to get all the paperwork and operations secured. And the primary operator is doing a supreme job, an excellent job of taking care of the operations. Gives me a chance to get my head around the paperwork. But I am not really that deep in the treatment plant. I'm more concerned about the drinking water. And that's why we're hiring John Hargraves to do the detailed watching of the treatment plant so that we don't get distracted away from the drinking water. So we're making sure we focus on the drinking water before, even before the new treatment plant.
Very good point. Very good point, yes.
So, Mr. Chairman, so,
Yes.
so going back to what we discussed last week with the $3,000 a month for Mr. Hargraves, obviously it's gonna be probably an extra couple of months, I'm assuming. In that regard, is there other costs associated with this extension of time?
Well, I think we're gonna talk about that at tomorrow's meeting. I think it's appropriate that our interim superintendent gets together with Mr. Hargraves and looks at that particular aspect of the budget we have at hand. For the construction, we're at about 1% of the 5% that's allowed in the contract with the funding and everything. But we're not sure about the engineering costs, so we're going to be looking at that in more detail. And that's what I would put forward at tomorrow night's meeting.
Now, we discussed it briefly last week of what is covered under the state allows under the bond issue and what it doesn't. Obviously, Mr. Hargraves' position isn't covered under that 5% contingency. If there's cost overruns on the construction side, that would be part of your 5% contingency fund that would fund those changes if they're required for additional expenses. I don't know. I'm not trying to put you on the spot here. Just to get a handle on what the town is responsible for, or the water department itself is responsible for, versus the bond money that was appropriated for that specific project. So.
I believe, I'd have to look into the contract with Weston Sampson, but I believe that the 5% contingency is only related to the construction of that plant. It might mean that they don't have to spend all the money. If we can keep everybody with their pencils sharpened, that perhaps we would have less bond money to pay for in the end. I'm not sure how the mechanism works.
Well, as long as there's enough money to cover the, in other words, I have no idea of what extending the contract for 78 days. It seems to indicate here that, the major construction will be done, but I mean, I assume there'll be some extra costs related to that extension. So I just try to make sure that
So
where that money comes from.
we're roughly another 2.5 months out.
Well, Mr. Hargraves and everybody has indicated that this plant will be operational sometime in May or end of April.
May.
The extension that she requested included a buffer, so if anything did crop up that was out of the ordinary, then there would be some.
Could this be, fully operational come May, and that this is
End of May.
at the end of May?
Potentially. It might be details, which is the reason for the extension, but the bulk of it will be done, our best estimates right now, by the beginning of June, end of May, beginning of June.
Okay, I think my biggest concern is the breakdown in communications, that nobody seemed to know what was going on. Speaking for the board, correct me again, but I don't expect this breakdown in communications again.
I think that we'll put the controls in place for that tomorrow night with our board meeting. you know, we learn from our mistakes, and we'll just, you know, be on top of that.
And I think you need to make it perfectly clear to Weston Sampson and to Mr. Hargraves and Mr. Sikora how the board feels.
Yeah, so I think that that'll be in one paper.
And again, you know, Dave's sentiments, I fully agree. You know, we have been through an awful lot this past year and a half, and we have turned the corner, okay? But it just, again, I have to go back again, the communications breakdown is embarrassing, to say the least, okay? And again, tomorrow night, you need to, I would suggest a strongly worded letter to those involved. Any other suggestions on the board?
I fully support you.
Okay, now, when it comes to Mr. Hargraves and paying Mr. Hargraves, okay, now we're talking 78 days, 2.5 months.
That's what he put in his letter.
Okay,
Well, his letter is until June 15th.
So I put a dollar figure there, too, didn't he?
Right.
so we're what's that, that's 4 months? That's 120 days, correct?
4.5, 5 months.
5 months is.
5 months, okay.
Gentlemen, I cannot support a request from you gentlemen to transfer funds from Mr. Hargraves, at least until after tomorrow night's meeting, when I get some answers. We're paying for the clerk of the works now,
Mhm.
and then we're paying twice in the engineer. And I question now that we have Mr. Griffin here. We need Mr. Hargraves. I have to get some answers this week.
Okay, now, if Stuart, if,
They're talking $15,000. 4 months. Now it's going longer. Where does it stop?
and I agree with you, Stu, but have to look at it, if we don't do anything tonight, okay, about the transfer, now we're not gonna meet for another 2 weeks, correct?
Right.
Do you have funding for that particular
We're out of money.
amount of money?
Well, I checked that today, and we had like $2,100 left in that fund we were paying him out of. So I think he'll get paid for his last invoice,
Mm-hmm.
if it's under that figure. And then he typically bills once a month, so it'll be time for us to discuss it at tomorrow's meeting.
Okay.
Can't spend money if it's not there. We're out of it now.
We have,
He's earned it, most of that 2,100.
I think, Mr. Chairman, if and I'm not sure what the exact process is here,
Mhm.
but if we authorize the expenditure, and then obviously the money doesn't actually get spent except by the water board, so that the water board then will decide if they want to hire Mr. Hargraves or not hire him. You know, all we're doing is, if we put our trust in them, that they'll make the right decision, but you know, we're not actually spending the money. All we're doing is saying, you know, authorizing that expense, which I think we were planning on doing, at least for a short period of time. Maybe they don't need Mr. Hargraves through the entire process, but you know, once again, you know, to bump someone out of this right at the crucial part when the project's coming to a finish.
I agree. I don't want to
It's not
jeopardize.
something that I would like to see happen, but it's a small amount of money, but at least if we're not meeting for 2 more weeks, I would be more than willing to authorize the water board to go ahead and determine what they want to do and transfer that money.
The last thing I want to do is jeopardize this project.
You know, at least enough, even if we authorize $10,000 at this point or something, so that they can at least have money, because like Stu says, if they don't have money, they can't spend it. If we authorize at least enough for, say, another 30 days, another month, then we can come back and revisit it, but at least we're not putting a crimp in the project at this point, because my guess is he's probably already running into a deficit situation, probably.
Oh, he's in the red right now.
So I mean, I think we need to say, let's say 10,000 will get us through a couple of months, and then, but it's still, we're only authorizing it, it's up to the water board to decide whether the, I mean, some of that we already owe.
I prefer to go to $5,000.
Yeah, 5 is 5.
And just,
Go to 12?
I'm willing to go with anything to get this thing done, at least to the point where gives the water board the authority to do what they need to do. If you want 12, that's
Well,
fine.
no,
I mean, you
5,
said
or-
10, and I'm thinking 12 is 3 months.
Yeah,
And we're looking at, hopefully, by that time, we'll know the plan is up, because they'll be doing the testing. And I think that's an important process that we need the engineer to look at, and to watch how it goes. I really do, I mean,
I think you're right, Mr. Murray. In talking with Mr. Hargraves, he says that the thing that really could have a lot of change orders would be the piping, and that's what they're getting into now. So it makes sense to have somebody overseeing that closely right now, as opposed to coming into it again after a month off or 2 months off.
We wouldn't be in this spot if at the beginning of this project, there was an independent clerk of the works hired, not from the engineering firm.
well, Stu, I agree, but we can't go back.
Too late now.
unfortunately.
2020.
But we have to, I guess, ask the board, we go with 12,000, or we go with
we
5?
talked 12 last week, so I mean, I'd be willing to go. I picked 10 out of the year when I said 10.
I'm just thinking, do we wait 2 weeks until we meet again and hear from the board, come back from the water commissioners?
well, I think what we want to do is make sure that we're not saying to the water board, look, here's $12,000, you got to spend it.
Right.
What we're saying is, we will allow you to spend the $12,000 at your discretion. We're authorizing you to do it if you think it's needed. But if it's not needed, obviously you shouldn't spend it.
Oh, yeah.
But-
Okay.
And then, well, I just wanted to ask Mike one more question. There was a suggestion made a little while ago that instead of the engineer, we use you. Do you feel comfortable doing that?
Well, it's a question of timing. If you recall a meeting last week, John's greatest value is continuity. He's been here, he knows what's going on. And we talked about being distracted. Right now, I'm trying to assure that we have good drinking water without the distractions. I can do it. I would need some time to ramp up. And to answer your question directly, given the present circumstances, no, I don't feel comfortable doing that.
Okay. I mean, I wanted to, I didn't want to just dump it on you.
In a perfect
at this
world, I'd
point.
love to do it.
No, I understand, I
But
understand.
we're not there.
But it's difficult, and if I was in your position, I think I would feel the same way.
Well, I have a responsibility to the office work. That's undone.
And that's important.
Mark, I think you have too many eggs in your basket right now to take on anything else.
So, Mr. Chairman, I'd like to suggest that the board authorize the water commissioners to spend up to $12,000 for the engineering, particularly in this critical part of the construction, where things are starting to come together.
If that's a motion, I'll say.
How's the rest of the
Mr. Chairman, I
board?
think you need to be clear, we're transferring from one budget line to another budget
Budget
line.
line.
So if the motion, Mr.
From the
Murray
reserve
suggested,
fund.
it's going to be to transfer some specific amount from line 13 of the FY14 Water Enterprise Fund
Line
budget,
13.
extraordinary and unforeseen expenses.
Which has a
Two.
balance of $50,000, I believe, at this point.
Yes,
Yes.
to budget line maintenance.
Okay. We
Is
can
that
add that.
Which
is
is
that line
line
141?
So if you transfer.
The amount would
to
be
the-
$12,000.
Is that the maintenance line, is that 140?
Not necessarily 12, but
Right.
whatever they, part of that they need.
That's, budget line 8 is the
All right.
maintenance.
Does the board feel comfortable with that?
I do.
Okay. Bob, you make the motion.
Hopefully I just did.
I'll second
Because
that.
I'm sure I'm
I'll
not gonna
second that
remember it
motion.
again.
We got a second it anyways. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Roll call?
Oh, no.
No?
No.
Usually you take a roll call vote
Okay.
in a joint meeting.
Okay.
Roll call vote.
Jack Cook.
Aye, Joe Perry.
Aye, Robert Snow.
Hi, Robert Murray.
Dave Peterson.
Hi, Tim Toomey.
I, Stu Delzell, abstain.
Okay.
You get that, the Stu abstained?
Well, it was a vote of the Board of Selectmen.
Oh,
The
okay.
Board of Selectmen only.
Oh, all right.
Okay. All right. So, any other items that we need to address here? We've addressed the reserve fund. We've addressed the letter, the water treatment plant construction deadline and extension, and the change orders. Did we address all the change orders?
Well, I think they were gonna, water board was gonna get back to us on.
Yeah. Well, you'll get back to us.
Discussion tomorrow night on what, on where all this stuff stands really.
I think tomorrow night, we request that you give us the lines of communications straightened out and come back to us in 2 weeks. And we'll talk about it then. Okay? And anything that pops up on the, tomorrow night, come back to us, okay? Tim, thank you. Stu, thank you. Well, before you leave, we gotta go out of joint session. Okay. Can't leave yet.
I'll make a motion to adjourn from the joint session with the water board.
Second.
I have a motion, I have a second. Any discussion? All those in favor with a roll call vote?
Jack Cook.
Aye, Joe Perry.
I Robert Snow.
Hi, Robert Murray.
Dave Peterson.
Hi, Tim Toomey.
I, Stu Delzell.
Mark, thank you for coming in tonight.
Thank you,
Thanks,
John.
Robert.
Thank you,
Stu, thank you so much. Tim,
Thanks, Stu. Thank you.
thank you. All right.
Tim.
Joe.
Take care, Mark, thank you. Thank you for all you're doing too, because I know.
Yes.
Thank you.
You stepped
Thank you,
into a
Mark.
tough situation.
Okay. What did I do? Old business number 2.
Number 2, we need actually, number 2 and
Chairman, number 2 is not ready,
number 2
actually.
is not ready.
Excuse me?
I was trying to work on that up till
It's not ready.
6:55.
It's not ready?
Yeah.
Okay.
And, it's, there's some more, there were some changes, last minute changes that we had to get reviewed by Judy Pickett, and she was unable to do that at the last minute.
Okay, no problem, yeah.
So unfortunately, we'll have to wait 2 weeks, but it should be okay.
Sure. Okay, we have an old business number 3. Town administrator update. The invitation of bids was released last Wednesday. The deadline was filed with sub-bids February 5th, 2014 at 11 a.m. The deadline for bids is February 12th, 2014 at 11 a.m. Do you want to take this over from here, Deb, or do you want me to continue
Sure,
reading?
Yeah, I just wanted to update the board on a few
Sure.
of the projects we've been working on here in the office. So we just covered the fact that we did issue the bid last week for the annex exterior project. The second was the RFP for water department building collection cut-through and service. That was released last Thursday. So it was, the legal notice ran in today's paper. So we have a deadline for proposals of January 29th.
Mhm.
I'm working on the RFQ for the architectural services, for the specification floor plans for the commercial grade elevator for the annex. And the last, been meeting with the fiscal team. We met last week. We're going over a few things in terms of revenue. We're obviously watching the House 1 budget from the governor. So we're hoping to get some preliminary state aid information on January 24th from the MMA. Usually we get a draft of what's going to be in the House 1 budget plan released by the governor, which will be the following, the last week in January. So, obviously that plays into the development of municipal budget, so just wanted to give you an update.
Thank you, Deb. Any questions from the board? All right, moving on to new business. Set the date for the annual special town meeting. The first Monday in May, May 5th, 2014. The town meeting has traditionally been held the week before the election. The annual town election will be held on Tuesday, May 13th, 2014. Both town moderator John Peterson and town clerk Susan Hazen are available that evening. The Board of Selectmen needs to vote to set the date for a town meeting, May 5th, 2014, 7:30 p.m. at the Pine Grove School.
I'll make that motion.
I have a motion.
Second.
Do I have a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. It is set. Okay. Announcements. Town has the following vacant seat: Finance Committee, Conservation Commission, Zoning Board of Appeals, 2 associate open seats, 2 fence viewer positions, and a wood lumber bark inspector. Again, the battery recycling box is located here at the town hall, and also in the library. You have any old D batteries, C batteries, anything like that, throw them in a plastic bag, put them to the side, then drop them off here or at the library. Again, I've said it before, it's a good way of getting green, good way to get those old batteries, make sure that they go into the landfills. Raleigh Food Pantry is in need of donations. The food pantry is open Tuesdays from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. and Thursdays from 5:30 to 7 p.m. Also, just a note that they need ketchup, mayonnaise, mustard, thank you, and some salad dressing, things like that. They can use those items. Okay, just if you have them laying around your cupboard, make sure you check the date on them. They haven't expired, because the food pantry can't accept anything that's been expired. Okay, and again, you can drop that off again at the library or at the behind the Baptist Church. Okay. We have a call for a motion to go into executive session. I'll call for a motion to go into executive session for the purpose of discussing strategies with request to litigation and non-union employees' contract negotiations, because an open session may have detrimental effect on litigating and negotiating positions of the town, and not to return to open session. Ask for a motion from
I'll
the
make
board.
that motion.
I have a motion from the board. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
And with a roll call vote,
Jack Cook.
Aye, Joe Perry.
R. Robert Snow.
Hi, Robert Mary.
Hi, Dave Peterson.
Okay. With that, we're going into executive session. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight, and we will be back in 2 weeks. Next week is a holiday, so enjoy the holiday. Good night now. Thank you.